Ladies and gentlemen, there's more information on Mississippi's Paupers grave. They're now finding out there are 215 bodies that have been buried in this cemetery. Now, this story all got kicked off when Dexter Wade was buried there, and his mother tirelessly contacted the police for months, several months, trying to find out where Dexter was. And they strung this woman along the entire time until she finally got word that he was buried in this pauper's grave behind a jail in Mississippi. And then since that time, there have been more families looking for their loved ones. Mario Moore, 40 years old, Jonathan Hankins. These are more names of men that were buried in this same pauper's grave. And their families had no idea that they were even dead. And I was reading some of the families just thought their loved one just moved away somewhere else, but they were still living. Oh boy. All I can say is Mississippi sounds like hell on earth. And whoever is responsible, because it had to be somebody calling the shots on this, that person is Hashatan themselves to even do this to people. This is just wicked. 215 bodies found in unmarked grave. Behind Mississippi jail, Ben Crump calls for investigation. Wow. So I guess because of the other cases that came out, they went and did an investigation and found out there were 215 bodies in this pauper's grave, and families were not notified at all. So Ben Crump, he is calling for an investigation. It says the remains were discovered in a pauper's cemetery behind Hinds County, Mississippi jail. The grave sites were reportedly marked with a mere metal rod with a number. Ben Crump joined forces with Reverend Hosea Hines, senior pastor of Christ Tabernacle Church and the national leader of a New Day coalition for equity in Black America, to call for an investigation into the causes of 215 deaths. People all across America are scratching their heads in disbelief about what's happening in Jackson, Mississippi, with this pauper graveyard. It's like they used the graveyard to cover up all these deaths. That's an awful lot of people. See, when the numbers start rising, people are going to start getting curious. And me, I'm sitting here wondering if it well exceeds 215. I just find it hard to believe that is the number. I just believe it's way higher than that. I really do. So Crump told a congregation at Stronger Hope Baptist Church in Jackson last month. It went from talking about the water, yes, because we heard about all of the water problems for the last 100 years in Jackson, Mississippi, and still unresolved to this day, just like Flint, Michigan. That was non existent or contaminated. Now we're talking about the graveyard. What's going on in Jackson, Mississippi? Hines reiterated Crump's concern, saying, "It saddens my heart to know that relatives of the deceased have gone so long without knowing where their loved ones' bodies were buried. It really saddens my heart to know that their relatives went that long, sometimes over a year, not knowing if their loved ones were dead or alive, and then coming to the realization that they had been buried in a pauper's grave behind a jail." Hines said, "If they had been properly notified, they would have been able to pay their respect." Crump confirmed that it's unclear if the deaths were caused by racism, prejudice, or bigotry. Wow. And you got to ask yourself, 215. Why are they so eager to put these folks in Pauper's grave? That just seems very odd. And we know why they did it to Dexter Wade. They did it to him because a police officer hit him in a cruiser. So they were really burying Dexter to cover for the cop. They didn't give a crap about Dexter. And I was looking at an interview of someone out there in Jackson, and they were saying if you go by that pauper's grave and you look up in the sky, there are buzzards flying over the graves. I said they probably can smell the bodies. That's why, I mean, that's a scavenger bird. So, yeah, that type of bird is going to be drawn to a corpse, and they probably can smell those bodies all in the ground. They said they didn't do nothing but throw them in body bags and then threw them in the ground. So, when they start investigating these 215, those bodies are going to be so badly decomposed, it's not even funny. They haven't been embalmed. What they did was just whatever clothing they had on, they just pushed them inside of a body bag and took them out the ground. That's why they did not want Dexter Wade's mother there. They gave her a whole different time to be at the gravesite, and they went there, I think, like 5 hours before and dug his body up and took it to the coroner's office. They did not want that woman to see that Dexter was never put in any kind of coffin. That's what they were trying to conceal. And therefore, his body would have been badly decomposed. I mean, this is wow. I could not imagine something like this happening to any of my family. Oh, I would be plenty mad, you know? And I saw some of the comments, and some of the comments were very mean spirited. Not everybody, most people were sympathetic, but some of the people were like, it's the family's fault. I don't see how that's the family's fault. I blame Hines County. They are the ones quietly taking these bodies and burying them. And it was no excuse for them to do that to Dexter Wade because he had ID on him, and they still threw him in the ground. And the other family said that their loved one had a cell phone. So if they had a cell phone, they could have found out who he was by just the cell phone alone. Because with a cell phone, there's a possibility of a bill. We know there's a phone number. The phone number is always tied to a person or a business, right? And A lot of times it's tied to not only the name, but the address too. So it's no telling how many out of the 215 had ID on them, and they just went ahead and threw these people in the ground just like they did to Dexter Wade. Man, I don't know who's running things down there. Y'all need to do a clean sweep and get rid of all those people at the top, because you can't tell me they did not know about this. I would never believe that. I believe they were aware. They just figured they were going to do this and never get caught. Please tell me what you think about this video. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.